Likening exaltation and atheism. Exaltation is mentioned in the middle because it's the medium between these two. If this is a spectrum, then likening is one end, yani comparing God, and atheism is the other end. Those are two polar opposites. Comparing God to the creation and denying God's existence altogether. And in between those two, there is the exclusive Muslim belief, exaltation, tanzih. Exaltation is the name of the creed of the Muslims concerning the attributes of God. So concerning God's attributes, there are three schools. One school is the school of the mushabbihah, the people who compare God to the creations. And they have many branches, many iterations. Yani, they come in many forms in different religions, the God comparers. And atheism is another school when it comes to the attributes of God, which is the school that God doesn't even exist. And depending on how you look at it, that's a religion in itself. Though atheists would deny that, say it's not religion, but has plenty in common with religion. They have beliefs, they have things they can't even prove. With no way really, have no evidence for it. They just believe it. Like how a Christian believes in something without having proof. They would like to think of themselves that they are scientific and that they only believe in empirical evidence, but that's not the case. In between those is the belief in the existence of God without being like anything. Belief in his existence means denial of atheism. Without being like anything means without likening. So it's in the middle. Allah said in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We made you a moderate nation, O nation of Muhammad. In the middle. At-Tahawi said, وَهُوَ بَيْنَ الْغُلُوِّ وَالتَّقْصِيرِ. Islam lies between extremism and neglect. وَبَيْنَ التَّشْبِيهِ وَالتَّعْطِيلِ. And between comparing God and dismantling monotheism, which is atheism. وَبَيْنَ الْجَبْرِ وَالْقَدَرِ. And between denying choice and claiming to make one's own destiny. وَبَيْنَ الْأَمْنِ وَالْإِيَاثِ. And between safety from God, yani feeling safe from God and being hopeless of his mercy. So here, this statement of At-Tahawi shows many cases where Islam is moderate, and these are not the only cases. Islam lies between extremism and neglect. Extremism means going too far. Neglect means not going far enough. Going too far is like saying Muhammad is created from light, or Muhammad knows everything, or Muhammad is the first creation. All of that to praise the Prophet, that's too far. Neglect, that's like saying Muhammad was a womanizer, which is kufr. And that's like saying Moses, he used to stutter. He was a nervous fellow. That's kufr. And there's other cases of extremism. Or fanaticism. Or radicalism.
I read something that said that celebrating the Mawlid was like exaggerating the status of the Prophet.
Mawlid is not exaggerating the status of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. This falls in compliance with the rules of the religion. There's no extremism there. So that claim itself is either extremism or neglect. Comparing God and dismantling monotheism. That's just like a way to be literal here. وَبَيْنَ التَّشْبِيهِ وَالتَّعْطِيلِ. Tashbih, comparing God to other things, comes in many forms. Worshipping the sun, worshipping the fire, worshipping idols, worshipping Jesus or any other man, like worshipping Pharaoh, worshipping angels, worshipping stars, worshipping the devil, etc. Dismantling monotheism means pulling it apart. That means atheism here. That's what it means here. From the word ta'til. Ta'til in Arabic means to dismantle something. So here it means atheism. وَبَيْنَ الْجَبْرِ وَالْقَدَرِ. And between denying choice, that's jabr. So Islam is not denying that slaves have a choice. While qadar, and claiming to make one's own destiny. Islam does not subscribe to believing that you make your own destiny. Allah is the one who created everything by destiny. Allah says, Inna kulla shay'in khalaqnahu biqadar. Indeed, everything, we created it by destiny. So we don't make our own destinies. Allah is the one who made everything by destiny. So if someone believes that we don't have any choice to do anything and we're like a feather in the wind, then that's denying created choice. If a person believes that he creates his own deeds independently of the creating of Allah, then that's claiming to make one's own destiny. Those are two opposites, and we are in between. We don't deny that we have a choice, and we don't make our own destinies. Therefore, our created choice is merged with some compulsion. So that's in between. وَبَيْنَ الْأَمْنِ وَالْإِيَاثِ. And Islam is between feeling safe from God and being hopeless of His mercy. Feeling safe from God means, according to one way of explaining, to keep sinning over and over and over, relying on Allah's mercy. Saying, Allah is merciful, Allah is merciful. Allah won't punish me, inshallah, He will forgive me. That's haram. It's not kufr. And feeling hopeless of His mercy means for a person to say, I'm doomed. Allah will punish me. That's haram also. It's not permissible for a person to be hopeless of Allah's mercy. But that's not what Tahawi meant when he said those. What Tahawi meant when he said those, when he said feeling safe from God's, or feeling safe from God, he meant to believe that God doesn't even punish at all. And being hopeless of His mercy means believing that He doesn't forgive at all. Islam is between that too. Allah forgives and Allah punishes. With details that we learn how to talk about that. The Mu'tazila had denied that Allah is attributed with speech because they thought the word kalam only refers to letters, sounds, and language. They thought the word kalam only refers to letters, sounds, words, and language. So they said, letters, words, sounds, and language, that's impossible to be an attribute of God. And then He doesn't have any speech. And the Mushabbiha, the God comparers, they claimed that Allah speaks Arabic because they thought that the word kalam only refers to letters, sounds, and language. Let me take the word words out of there. Because they thought that the word kalam only refers to letters, sounds, and language. So they said, Allah has kalam. Therefore, He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim in eternity. They mean with letters. They say He recites the Quran in eternity. They mean in Arabic. Ahlul Sunnah said that Allah speaks without letters, and without sounds, and without languages. Because Ahlul Sunnah knew that kalam can mean what promotes understanding. What makes you understand something. Anything that makes you understand something is kalam. In a broad sense, in an absolute sense. The Mu'tazila, they denied that Allah can be seen. Because they thought that the only thing that could be seen is something with a body. They said, Allah is not a body. That's correct. They said, therefore, he can't be seen. That's incorrect. The Mushabbiha thought that Allah is something with a body because he can be seen. They said, Allah can be seen. Therefore, we shall stand in front of him and see his face. Smiling. So they're pagans, really. They worship their own imagination. Ahlul Sunnah said that Allah can be seen without being a body and without having the attributes of a body because he exists. So they're in the middle. The Mu'tazila denied that Allah created the deeds of the slaves. They say Allah only created our bodies and he installed in us the power to create our own movements and stillnesses. That's blasphemy. The Jabriyah, they denied that the slaves have any will at all. They said, we have no power. They said, you said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no hawl and no quwwah except by Allah. There's no power and there's no strength except by Allah. They say, you said too much. You should just say, La hawla wa la quwwah. That's it. There's no power. Allah is the only one who does anything. That's their belief. That's kufr too. Ahlul Sunnah said that the slaves have a will that is under the will of Allah. So those are some examples of how Ahlul Sunnah is moderate. Wa subhanallahi wa bihamdih. Exaltation. Tanzih. The creed of the Muslims is called Tanzih, exaltation, which is confirming the existence of Allah while clearing him from resembling the creations. So, if someone asks you, what is the definition of Tanzih? Say, Tanzih is confirming God's existence without comparing him to anything. Some people say less than that. If you ask them, what is the meaning of Tanzih? They will say, Tanzih is clearing Allah from resembling the creations. So if you want, say all of this. Tanzih is confirming Allah's existence while clearing him from resembling the creations. Then that's more complete, because when you say it that way, then you have directly defied the atheists. You have blatantly defied the atheists, confirming his existence. That's in defiance of the atheists. While not comparing him to the creations, and that's in defiance of the pagans. This belief, this system of belief, this exaltation, is the haven between the extremes of resembling and denying, or comparing and denying. I think comparing is a better word than resembling. Comparing, yani to compare two things. Yani to compare two things from the outside, that is. You are someone who's comparing two things. So you're comparing. But resembling could be between you and the other thing. So you could say, he resembles you. You resemble him. So there's a difference there. Comparing. Allah refuted both extremes when he said in his book, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Nothing is whatsoever like him, and he is the hearer, the seer. This ayah refutes the comparers and the atheists. Here he denied any likeness to himself. So that refutes the God comparers. And he confirmed that he is ascribed with attributes. So that refutes the atheists. Because the atheist says God doesn't exist, so then by extension, he doesn't have attributes. If something doesn't exist, it wouldn't have attributes. That's why when someone denies that Allah has attributes, what is he doing? He's implying that Allah doesn't exist. That's what the Mu'tazila do. So the Mu'tazila are closet atheists. Means they're not outward with their atheism. At-Tahawi said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَتَوَقَّ النَّفْيَ وَالتَّشْبِيهِ زَلَّ وَلَمْ يُصِبِ التَّنْزِيهِ. Whoever does not guard himself from negation and comparing, even let's say negating instead of negation. Whoever does not guard himself from negating and comparing has slipped and has not arrived at exaltation. So he mentioned both of those. When we say tanzih is confirming the existence of Allah without comparing him to creations, then that's taken from Tahawi and the likes of Tahawi. That's what Sheikh Samir taught us. The way I'm telling you now, that's what Sheikh Samir taught us. It was narrated about Ash-Shafi'i that he said, من انتهض لمعرفة مدبره فطمأن إلى موجود ينتهي إليه فكره فهو مشبه. Whoever got up to know his creator and settles on a being whom his thought can encompass, then he's a mushabbih. He's a likener. He's a God comparer. وإن اطمأن إلى العدم الصرف فهو معطل. If he settles on pure non-existence, he is a mu'attil, then he's an atheist, a dismantler. He's an atheist. وإن اطمأن إلى موجود واعترف بالعجز عن إدراكه فهو موحد. And if he settles on a being and admits that his mind cannot conceive him, that his mind cannot conceive this being, then he is a muwahhid, he's a monotheist. When we say he admits that his mind cannot conceive him, it means he submits to that. He conceives that. He conceives truly that his mind is incapable of realizing the reality of God. And then he submits to that. And then this will itself be knowledge for him. In Al-Asma'u wa Sifat, Al-Bayhaqi narrated that Abu Sulaiman Al-Khattabi said, الذي يجب علينا وعلى كل مسلم أن يعلمه. What is an obligation on us and on every Muslim to know? أن ربنا ليس بذي صورة ولا هيئة, is that our Lord is not one with an image or format. فإن الصورة تقتضي الكيفية, for an image necessitates a manner of being, يعني having a mode or some way, being in some way or another. هكذا. فإن الصورة تقتضي الكيفية, indeed an image necessitates a manner of being, yani an image necessitates being one way or another. That's the meaning of manner of being. وَهِيَ عَنِ اللَّهِ وَعَنْ صِفَاتِهِ مَنْفِيَّةٌ, and that from Allah and His attributes is negated. The word kayfiyah, to be one way or another, might be used to mean the reality. That's different. Being one way or another and reality, those don't mean the same thing. But the word kayfiyah that we are denying for Allah, it might be used to mean haqiqah, reality. And haqiqah is not denied from Allah. We don't deny that Allah has a haqiqah, a reality, which is realness. That's the meaning of reality, a realness. As said by the poet, كيفية المرء ليس المرء يدركها فكيف كيفية الجبار في القدم. He said, the how of man, man himself does not encompass it. So how about the how of Al-Jabbar in eternity? Al-Jabbar is Allah. And if we want, we could put here the word God, for example. So how about the how of God in eternity? He's saying, how about how God is in eternity? How could someone encompass that if he couldn't even encompass his own reality? But since there is ugliness in saying Al-Jabbar's how, there's ugliness in that statement. The Sheikh therefore composed an alternative line. He took that line and he adjusted it to remove the ugliness from it. And he kept it on the same meter. And so then the way the Sheikh adjusted the line, it goes, كيفية المرء ليس المرء يدركها فكيف يدرك كنها الخالق الأزلي. The reality of man, man himself does not encompass it. So how would he encompass the reality of the eternal creator? Now that's a better statement. Only Allah knows the haqiqah of his self, the reality of his self and his attributes. Our knowledge of him is limited to three things. Knowing what is necessary to attribute to him, like knowledge and power. Knowing what is necessary to attribute to him, like knowledge and power. We know that's necessary. It must be. It's impossible to deny that from Allah. Knowing what is impossible to attribute to him, like a partner. And knowing what is valid, possible or valid to attribute to him, like his creating something or not. For him to do something or not. Al-Rifa'i said, غاية المعرفة بالله الإيقان بوجوده تعالى بلا كيف ولا مكان. The ultimate understanding about Allah that the slave can achieve, the furthest your mind can go, the furthest your mind can reach, is the certainty in his existence. Exalted is he, without a how and without a place. Without being one way or another and without being in any location. The great scholar Ibrahim ibn Tawbah, also known as Dhunnun al-Misri, said, مهما تصورت ببالك فالله بخلاف ذلك. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. Instead of trying to imagine Allah, we are encouraged to ponder on the creation. As Allah said, وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And they think about the creation of heavens and earth. So that's what we're supposed to think about, the creations. Not the reality of God. We think about the creation so that we can know that God is unlike the creation. We ponder on the creation, think about the creation, and we become familiar with the attributes of the creations. And then how would we know God after that? By negating all of that from God. So the creations are particles and bodies, dense bodies and subtle bodies with transient qualities, qualities that come and go, like motion and then stillness, or being cold and then being warm, or the likes. Allah is not like any of that. This will help us increase our glorification of the Creator. However, not included in thinking about the reality of the self of Allah is clearing him from resembling creations. Someone might say to you, don't you know that it's obligatory to not think about the self of Allah? What he means to say is, stop warning from Wahhabis who say that Allah is a figure in the heavens above who comes and goes and has organs. Don't warn from those people because of what they believe about Allah. Don't you know that you're not supposed to think about the reality of Allah? So the answer is, thinking about the reality of the self of Allah is not clearing him from resembling the creations. When we clear him from resembling the creations, that doesn't mean we are attempting to know the reality of his self. When we say he exists eternally and everlastingly, he existed before time and place, he is not ascribed with any descriptions of humans, he sees without a pupil and hears without an ear or an ear canal, he speaks without letters and sounds, etc. That's not attempting to arrive at the reality of God. Rather, this is explanation and application of the saying of Allah, Laysa kamithlihi shay'. Nothing whatsoever resembles him. Wa subhanallahi wa bihamdihi.